I feel like I'm not being paid enough for the amount of work that I do at my job. But my boss is great and has helped everyone so much outside of work that it makes me feel selfish to ask for a raise. Is this wrong of me?
Well, I think it doesn't have to be a win or lose discussion. But you're sitting here, and I'm going to let Bo fill in some color on this, is because he's the master of creating the win-win scenario. Mm-hmm. And I like to think that I did this with my first boss at the CPA firm. I know he used to probably dread every client ride that we'd have, because we'd be stuck in the car for 30 minutes, and I'd use this time to pepper him about career path and where we see the firm going and opportunities that I can make his job easier. And Bo, that's what I want to give you credit for with me. You're so good at it. You actually own part of the business now. So, man, kudos to you for being so good at this. Is that I always felt like you presented when you wanted more. You didn't do it out of the obligation of saying, hey, I'm a good employee, just give me more money. You always presented, hey, what if we do this, this, and this? I think it's going to create more revenue here, here, here. And then you made it a win-win.
That's right. Yeah, I always tried to structure in any sort of like, I don't want to call it a negotiation, because it should not be a negotiation. I think that's a bad term for it. What it should be is a mutually beneficial conversation. That's what you ought to have with your employers. Because it's one thing if you meet with your boss or meet your supervisor and say, hey, I want a raise. That means I want more money. And if it's the owner of the company, you make less money. That automatically puts you at conflict and misaligns your interests. If instead you can say, hey, I was thinking, hey, if we decided to do this, or we moved in this area, or we tried this strategy, or we used this sales tactic, or whatever that thing was, and ultimately it's going to drive more revenue by increasing sales or increasing your revenue growth, or maybe we're going to cut expenses by figuring out some better way to do something. Hey, I would love to spearhead the initiative to go on this path. Is that something that would be valuable to the company? Well, what I found in my experience and what I see with a lot of our clients is if you can find ways to make yourself incredibly valuable, where either you increase the top line, you decrease expenses, and ultimately increase the bottom line, you generally, especially if you own that, will have a much stronger footing to say, hey, this would be something great if I could also participate in the growth. Hey, if you make more money, I make more money. We're on the same side of the table. That's a much better way to approach this conversation than, hey, I think I'm valued up here and you're valuing me down here and I need you to come to me. I just think that you set yourself up for confrontation that way. So if you can find some way so that it's good for all parties involved, even if it's a supervisor, hey, how can I take on more responsibility? Hey, are there things I could do that would make your job, your life, your day easier, better, more valuable? Hey, I'd love to take those on. And if you can create a consistent habit of doing that, you become so valuable to the organization that they can't ignore you. They can't possibly not create a path for you to move along in the organization.
And then I'll sound like the old man on the front porch yelling at the sky, is know where you are in the time frame too. Because now I am shocked, because I'll see in the comments section, we even have some loved ones, you find out people haven't gotten pay raises in 8 years. And I'm like, and that exists?
That's a different
because
thing.
Like in our organization, we give pay raises. We look at things every year. But I've had situations, and this person, I would talk about this because I think they would even say, what was I thinking? Somebody had been here for 5 months, and we had a year end, and they asked if they could have a meeting, and they kind of said they wanted a pay raise. And I had to remind them, I was like, where do you think you are in this career journey? Because in the first 5 months, you barely know how our processes work. Yes, you have a strong aptitude, but you have to have enough time to kind of absorb into the system, because there is a balance in the beginning of an employer relationship. Your employer is giving you a lot more than you're probably giving them. Most people don't start day one and start adding tremendous value to a company. It takes a while to kind of absorb practices, to get good at it, to become proficient at something. So don't, if you've only been there for a few months, go in and then demand a pay raise when you might be at the beginning part of the learning cycle. Just be careful. I know there's a lot of content out there saying that you can't get ahead unless you do this, that, and there. It's just, but be very self-aware of where you actually are in that value add. Because there's what we always say is value what you receive, price is what you pay.
Yeah,
well, a lot of times
pay,
that's what happens with wages as well, is that you have to make sure that you understand what is the value of the whole relationship as well.
I love it.